Hey everybody, it's Hylian Alchemist, and welcome back to Let's Play The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. In the last episode, we did a little bit of exploration in the Dark World, and in this episode, we are now entering the Dark Palace. Well, Palace of Darkness, actually, from what I just looked up on the wiki. That's what it's officially called, but it doesn't really matter either way. Dark Palace, Palace of Darkness, such and such. And we basically went in there because the monkey wanted us to give him 100 rupees. Yeah, of course, a monkey of all things. Guys, you know, everything's better with monkeys. Now, I gotta say though, this is... when you start the dungeons in the Dark World, like, you know, this being the first dungeon that we enter for the Dark World, this is where the dungeons... the dungeons in this game start to get a little more tedious. Because you'll run into a lot of more enemies that can be quite a pain in the ass to deal with. And also some more complex dungeon designs. Well, particularly the puzzles. So, I will admit that I have been using guides. Well, actually, I was using a guide for this dungeon, and I probably will do so for the rest of the dungeons in the Dark World. Mainly because of how complex they are, and I also kind of don't remember most of the layouts for the dungeons, particularly those in the Dark World. Anyway, so we talked to the stone tablet, and we actually find out that Zelda didn't die after all. Huh. I guess what Aghanim said before was kind of misleading, but whatever. At least we know that she's safe. You know, just watch out for the anti-fairies here. Oh yeah, by the way, yeah, this isn't exactly the same music like you're hearing in the background like you hear for the other dungeons in the Light World. Yes, you are going to be hearing that kind of music for the rest of the dungeons in the Dark World, because, you know, that is the main theme for the Dark World dungeons. And while it does, it kind of does sound a bit intimidating, I should say, because, you know, it's a dungeon in the Dark World and it's kind of creepy to begin with, it can also get a little repetitive and a little bit annoying, I should say. Considering that you're going to be hearing that over and over and over again for the rest of the game. But anyways, another new enemy that we're encountering here, this is a Goria. Well, actually, we've encountered those in Zelda 1. Well, that's where they made their debut back in Zelda 1. But they were actually different in this game. For what you just saw is that they actually mimic every bit of Link's moves. Like, you know, you just go around and then they start, you know, going exactly the same. The green ones, like, they basically just do nothing at all. Like, well, aside from them just mimicking your moves. And, you know, the only way you take damage from them is just by simply making contact with them. The red ones, however, if you actually go right in front of them, then they'll shoot these fireballs right at you. So that you do want to be careful for. The red ones are especially a little bit more aggressive than the green ones. The only way to defeat them, well, you can actually just come up to them up close, and then just strike them with your sword. But particularly for the red ones, I would just go for the bow. Considering the fact that if you just go right in front of them, then they shoot fireballs at you. What I usually do is that I would just like, you know, face in front of them, and, well, actually no, face forward and then shoot the bow, and then you just go in another direction. Like, make sure the Goria is within range of the bow, and that's how I defeat them. Which I think you saw those before, so you probably should recognize what how I dealt with the Gorias. So that room there was completely optional for this dungeon, but that only leads to the dungeon map, and of course that's where I would be getting that. I also didn't even mention this guy right here. That is the Helmasaur. Helmasaurs, they can only be defeated from behind, or you can just, you know, just ignore all that and just throw skulls at them. And yeah, in the Dark World, there are no pots whatsoever, none. They are instead replaced by the skulls, so yeah, we're basically smashing skulls. Yeah, it kind of sucks though. We're not really smashing pots very much, but hey, at least skulls would do the same thing. I guess that's good enough. And yeah, I kind of skipped a frame right there because I was trying to think. I was looking at the guide and trying to think about what I should do. And yeah, back to what I was saying about the Helmasaur. Yeah, you can't really attack those with the on the front, because that's basically their helmets. And these new enemies here, now those guys, we've already encountered the Stalfos. Well, actually, those are the new variants for the Stalfos. After you strike them with your... Well, actually, no. I think they'll just, have their skulls to hover and they'll just go after you. I think that's about it. But then they all just go away for some reason. But no, these new enemies that I was actually talking about, like those sort of like enemies, those are called the Terrapins. However, we cannot do anything about them just yet because we do not have the particular item for this dungeon. So, because of that, we can't really kill them. Because, you know, every time we just strike them with a sword, their hard shells will just deflect them off. So we can't do a thing about them. Let's just say, though, I fucking hate these enemies so much. Well, especially, we'll get to that one room later, but it's very apparent with that one room that, like, again, we're gonna be going there later. And that is what caused me to just hate them so much. Like, seriously. But, you know, like, that's actually at the point where we do get that particular item for those Terrapins, but, you know, besides that kind of point, I just hate them so much because of it. I really do. It's just the way they would always come after you, no matter what. But, you know, you'll see what I mean soon. So yeah, like I'd probably be saying about the Dungeons in the Dark World being a bit more complex than the ones in the Light World dungeons. Like, you know, I mean, there are some of them that can be tolerable, even though they can be a bit frustrating. However, there's that one particular dungeon later on that we'll be getting to that just, I'm even gonna try just talking about it, but, you know, we'll get to that later on, so... But yeah, I mean, you probably see what I mean here, like, you know, about this, the background music. I mean, I kind of do miss the Light World dungeon music, I should say, and, you know, just having to listen to this. You see, it does get very repetitive, just having to listen to it more times, and since, we're probably going to be here for quite a long time. That's what all the Dungeons in the Dark World just do, they just share the same music, but... You know, I'm kind of sounding cynical here. I know, I'm kind of talking out of my ass here. But, you know... I mean, don't get me wrong, I mean, I've got no cynicism towards this game whatsoever. It is a fantastic game. But, you know... I think I'm just being too nitpicky, aren't I? Yeah, I basically am. That's just the Dark World dungeon. That's just one thing, I mean... You know... I mean, I should just take it out on the rest of the game itself. I mean, that's not at all. That just sounds so ridiculous. Anyway, I'm going a little off topic here. Yeah, I kind of did screw up a little bit. Like, I hesitated for a little bit, but then I forgot that, those, tiles would just collapse. And you do have to hurry, but then, yeah, these, Helmosaurs in the way. So you do want to be careful of that. And I got hiccups again. And holy shit, look at all these rupees here. Oh my god, all the rupees. Wow, this dungeon here, it's being so generous to me. The game itself is being generous. It's giving me all these rupees, all these free rupees. Look at all of them. They're all over the floor. I don't believe it. They're all over the place. Also, what kind of tile is this? That looks kind of cool, though. I mean... From the looks of it, it's not really water because it does not have any kind of tile effects for the water. It looks cool that way. It kind of looks like stars or, you know, a dark sky or something. Kind of like the night sky. Alright, well, yeah, here's a little bit of a preview of what I mean about that one room that we'll begin to with all these Terrapins. Yeah, you know, a small room with the Terrapins everywhere. And, yeah... Again, you'll just see what I mean. Anyways, there's a little, a maze. And some Kadongos. Which we've only seen, like, in the Tower of Hera. And yeah, I'm kind of feeling a little tired here, so... Expect me to say some very weird things. And, of course, talk some things out of my ass. That's what happens. I get a little tired, and then, you know... Kind of sounds like I'm kind of high right now. Well, except I'm not really high. I'm just tired. But you know, again, I'm not really high, so don't worry. As a matter of fact, I remember when A Link Between Worlds actually kind of did bring back this aspect of that the Dark Palace. You know, the very same dungeon. Well, except it's not really the Dark World. It's Low Rule. But anyway, let me just pause right here. Now we have the magic hammer. Well, that's, or if it's just called a hammer. I didn't read the dialogue clearly, but yeah, basically, what that does is that it actually just flips some things around, or maybe just flips or smash some switches harder. As a matter of fact, what it also do is that you can use the hammer against those helmet swords, and it can actually break their helmets. That's a nice little thing. And this is where we can finally defeat those terrapins. So just smack them with a hammer like that, and they'll just flip upside down, all belly up, and then that's where you can actually strike them. So, anyway, yeah, back to what I was saying about that one room, the maze room. Yeah, in Link Between Worlds, like when they brought back the Dark Palace, well, you know, unlike this game where it's not actually in the Dark World, it's actually in Low Rule. They actually did bring back that room in the Dark Palace, except not quite like the room in this game where like the maze itself, you actually just rely on the wall merging a lot. I mean, it does have the same kind of Kadongos in there, and it's very much like the it's very much of a maze, but except that you do need to use the wall merging ability to get through that room. But anyways, yeah, there's also something else I forgot to advise you guys. You really do need to stock up on red potions. Like, I highly recommend you use like you fill your empty bottles up with red potions. You are gonna need those, trust me. Especially for the Dark World dungeons, because as you just saw there, those hardhead beetles are kind of got after me, and you know I was running low on HP. Well, running low on health actually. It's okay. I usually just only say that for RPG games. But yeah, you really do want to carry some red potions with you, in case things start to go wrong. Because that's what I always do, especially for the Dark World dungeons. And yeah, you do need to push that statue right up there. And just keep the switch pressed. There we go. And more Gorias. So, yeah, you'll see what I mean about how I defeat the Red Goria. Yeah, just shoot the arrow and then turn to the other side, and then the Red Goria will go the opposite direction, and then once he's within range, then he'll get hit with the arrow. You know, speaking of how I mentioned about, like, you know, I mentioned HP in a Zelda game, that's, kind of, it's a bit of a berserk button for the fandom. Like, you know, calling Zelda games an RPG, that's actually one thing to piss a lot of people off. I mean, the only instance for an RPG that a Zelda game has would be Zelda 2, because basically, like, you basically do get experience points, and then, well, you know, technically Zelda, it kind of is a role-playing kind of game. Like, you know, you can basically name your, you can basically name Link anything you want, and then, you know, strangely enough, like, once you register a name, like, you know, basically your own name, like if I were to put in my real name, Tyler, then the characters in-game will actually refer to Link as Tyler. Like, you know, for example. So whatever name you put in, then the in-game characters will actually refer to that kind of name that you registered. And, you know, and also the thing that, of course, Miyamoto did say that, that Link, you know, hence the name is basically supposed to be the link between you and the, like, you know, the player and the main character, the protagonist. And, you know, you're basically, you know, in this kind of adventure world. Oh, okay, let me just stop right there. This right there, this is the room that I was talking about. And this is the reason why I fucking hate the Terrapins. Because they will all gang up on you, and you also have to deal with this very dark room. And, you know, you do have to light up the room with a torch. And yes, it actually is a requirement for you to defeat all the Terrapins. You know, the problem is, though, they will always gang up on you. Like, very much so. And I think, I'm not sure, well, no, I don't think the, hammer actually does knock back. No, I don't think it does. Like, they will all just gang up on you. Like, you know, you just flip one Terrapin over, but the other ones who haven't been flipped over, they will just come after you. And they will just, they'll just, you know, you'll take damage from them a lot. And that is why those Terrapins, I hate those guys so much, I really do. Yeah, you really do want to be careful with those guys. You really do. Because, you know, just defeat one, you really have to make sure you just try your best to defeat those other Terrapins, but otherwise they will come after you, and they will hurt you. So you really want to be careful of those. So, anyway, I think I should go back to what I was saying before. So yeah, because of that, like, you know, just, you know, basically you're in this kind of adventure game. So I guess you could say that it kind of is like some sort of role-playing genre, like, you know, with, just, like, you're basically in the game, and Link's just basically a link between the protagonist and the player. That's basically what it is, but, you know, Zelda 2 kind of does play like an RPG, like, you do get experience points, like, you know, from defeating certain enemies, and, you know, from getting, bags. I guess it's kind of like that, I should say. And you also do level up as well, so... And also with new spells and new, like, you know, newer abilities, so... Anyways, enough of this jibber jabber right here. Now we have made it to the boss of the Dark Palace. This is the Helmasaur King. So, kind of the same with the other Helmasaurs if you were just use the hammer to defeat the helmets first, but, you know... this guy actually has two phases, and right now we're in the first phase. What you have to do here is that you want to use the hammer that you got in this dungeon to basically break the helmet. That's what you want to do first, is to break the Helmasaur King's helmet. The only attacks that he's ever going to use is that he'll shoot out that one fireball and they'll just split into fours, or they'll just split into fourths. Like, well, actually no, into thirds, I mean. Okay, well the other instance they just split into fourths, but at first they'll just split into thirds. And he'll also strike you with his tail as well. Although it's actually more of an, in this kind of line. But it's quite easy to dodge as well. So after you break his helmet, then you can either just strike him with your sword, the hammer, or the arrows. I went with the arrows at first, but I also would rather just use the sword. I don't know why I just use the arrows first. And you also do want to hit the gem right here. That's basically the weak point, is the green gem on his forehead. Like, after you break the helmet, then you'll move a little faster, but that's when you can just finish him off just by striking the gem on his forehead. So yeah, not an overall difficult boss, I should say. I mean, especially for, like, you know, the first dungeon in the Dark World. Like, as complicated as they can be, this boss isn't that hard. So once you know what he does, like, you know, just know about how to defeat him, then he shouldn't be that bad, so... Anyway, now that he has been taken down, and we just got our first crystal and now, with that, we have now freed our first maiden. Of all the 7 maidens. So, once you pick up the crystal and you set free of one of the maidens, they'll basically give you some bits and pieces of information about the Dark World itself. And also Ganon, yes. This is actually our first time that we hear about this, well... No, did they ever mention him before? I don't remember. I don't know if, well, Heisenberg actually mentioned Ganon, but yeah. This is where they'll start talking details about Ganon. So yes, that's when you may all realize that, well, Aghanim, well, as you all thought that, we all thought you'd be the main villain for this game. No, actually, that's Ganon. And, well, actually, I don't want to go too much more into detail. I mean, we may, we probably don't know how Aghanim probably came to the picture, but, you know, they'll talk more about him, you know, with his relation between him and Ganon, but, you know, there's more to it with that, so... Anyway, oh, the monkey's gone. Guess he just left. Ah, come on, we all know that everything's better with monkeys, don't we all think? Well, you know. Anyway, so I guess that's about it for the Dark Palace. Well, Palace of Darkness. I always call it the Dark Palace, even though it's officially called the Palace of Darkness. But again, it's the same thing. So, anyways, next time on Let's Play Link to the Past, we are going to, well, I'm not really sure. Maybe either, I haven't looked it up yet. Maybe either do something, well, I mean, to our advantage with the new hammer we just got. Or maybe just going straight to the second dungeon for the Dark World. But, we may never know. We'll find out. So, anyhow, until next time, see you guys later.